First of all, in America, it is so easy to start a business. I mean, and I'm sure many of your listeners know, you can literally start a business today. Here, it's not the same. Whether you're American or Polish, it's just not the same.
The Go Hunt Live Show, hosted by Todd Nevins.
This is Todd Nevins, and I interview people that had seemingly normal lives and careers going, but they pulled the ripcord to epically reinvent themselves in order to pursue a life full of purpose and passion. On this episode number 71, I am joined by Michael Klepacz, who served in the U.S. Air Force and is a disabled American veteran and is now building a hemp manufacturing company in Warsaw, Poland. He actually used the GI Bill to get a master's degree and fund his hemp startup with just $10,000. A really interesting entrepreneurial journey that involves patent infringement and failure, and ultimately to his current path of manufacturing and selling hemp dog collars, guitar straps, and soon-to-be yoga mats into the United States. We also talk about the startup ecosystem in Warsaw. Michael is the first person that I've had on the show that is living in Poland, so he definitely provides some insight into what it's like to live there, to start a business there as a foreigner, and why multinational companies are now opening up offices there. My conversation with Michael starts right after a shout out to the Go Hunt Live sponsor, PrintDirtCheap.com. This episode is sponsored by PrintDirtCheap.com. Jeff Chrisman, the founder of Print Dirt Cheap, and the crew there are rock stars when it comes to delivering top quality printing at a cheap price. If you've met me in the last 3 years and I handed you a business card, it was printed by Print Dirt Cheap. They're my online digital printing company for everything. They do banners, company letterhead, a ton of direct mail pieces, funky decals, even menus for restaurants, over 30 categories of printing products, and yes, business cards. And they do it fast and they do it cheap. Jeff has streamlined every little aspect of the business to provide the perfect user experience, delivering the best product in the industry. I have personally been to the offices and I have seen it firsthand. But see for yourself. Go to printdirtcheap.com and use promo code GoHuntLife and get $10 off of your order. Or if you want to get a sample of their work, click on Sample Pack and they'll mail you one out for free. Go to printdirtcheap.com, use promo code GoHuntLife for $10 off of your next print job. Michael Klepacz, thanks for jumping on the show today.
It's good to be here.
Where are you at right now? And if you were to walk outside, what would you see?
I would see a bunch of apartment buildings next to my apartment building in Warsaw, Poland.
Warsaw, Poland. What's the population of Warsaw, Poland?
About 3 million on a good day.
Okay, that's a big city.
It's the 9th largest in Europe.
All right. How old are you? Are you married and do you have kids?
32, not married, no kids.
And what is your profession and primary ways that you make money?
Well, first of all, I'm a disabled American veteran, so I get a little bit of cash in my pocket from that. And then I also own a factory here in Poland and trying to do some money with e-commerce as well, with a couple of our own brands.
And what kind of manufacturing facility do you have there?
The main thing that we do at the factory is we wax hemp string. Other than that, we work with a couple of local companies to make some of our other products.
All revolving around hemp?
Everything's made out of hemp, yeah.
I know nothing about hemp, so I want to jump into that in a few minutes. But take me back to your military life back in 2007. You were with the U.S. Air Force, correct?
Yeah.
Where were you living? What were you doing? What's life like in the U.S. Air Force in 2007?
In 2007, I was like waking up at 6:30 in the morning. I should have been waking up at 6, and I should have been getting to work at 7, but I wasn't. Basically, I entered the military as an aircraft mechanic after going to aircraft mechanic school in high school. And so about 2006 or so, I got injured on the job, and then they turned me into a trainer. So I was doing training, and we call it ancillary training.
How did you get injured, and how did that impact you leaving the military?
Well, with the military, even if you have... So I actually had a job inspecting aircraft where I wasn't allowed to deploy anyways. I was doing something called isochronal inspection, and basically every time the aircraft hits 400 hours, it comes to us for a complete overhaul. And so I was in a non-deployable unit, but if you're hurt, which I hurt my back and my hip, basically deadlifting aircraft tires and doing other dumb stuff in my 20s, because I wasn't worldwide qualified, I wasn't allowed to stay in the Air Force. Even though I was doing great in the training section that I had moved to after being an aircraft mechanic, I wasn't allowed to stay because it wasn't my career field, so I had to get out.
So you are honorably discharged? Is that the word?
Yeah.
The term?
Yeah.
All right, so you're honorably discharged. You have a little bit of compensation, I'm assuming, from that.
Yeah, the technical is I was honorably discharged with a medical separation, and I have a rating of 40% from the Veteran Affairs Office, which means I get X amount of my original paycheck per month.
For the rest of your life?
Until I die, yeah. Yeah, well, and if I get married and have kids, then I think I get like $40 extra per dependent.
You can't. The $40 per dependent doesn't go very far.
Yeah, I know, right?
Okay, so when you get out of the military, was that enough money to live on, depending upon where you were living around, in the U.S. or around the world?
When I got out of the military, they gave me a separation pay. They give you a separation pay, but it's kind of a double-edged sword. So you can't collect your Veteran Affairs money, that 40% that I was given, until the Veteran Affairs money pays off the separation pay. So it was until, I think, maybe 2009 or 2010 that my money started coming in because it had paid off the separation pay that I got when I got out. So when I got out, I was originally going to go to school to become a chiropractor because chiropractors and massage and like yoga and stuff really kind of helped me start like walking normally again and stuff. So I was like, I want to get into this. This is pretty cool. I know some chiropractors. Let's go do that. But I was about 23 at the time, and I thought, oh man, by the time I finish chiropractic school, I'll be 30, and like that's old. Like I can't imagine being 30, and I'm 32 now, and I just finished my master's degree a week and a half ago. So,
congrats! All right, so take me through walking out of the military to owning a hemp manufacturing company in Warsaw, Poland, because you're originally from Toledo, Ohio. So you grew up in the Midwest, you go to the Air Force. Now you're in Warsaw, Poland, running a manufacturing company for hemp that you started. What transpired from 07, 08, 09 to 2017, or I guess 2014 when you started the company?
Yeah, well, so you're from Springfield, so you know Cedar Point.
No, Cedar Point.
Cedar Point, the amusement park in Sandusky.
Oh, okay, yeah.
World's largest amusement park.
Okay, yeah. I didn't expect that to play into your story.
This is actually a pretty big part of it. So from the unpronounceable last name that I'm Polish by blood, and so when I got out of the military, they were redoing the GI Bill, and so I didn't want to use the GI Bill. I wanted to use the post 9/11 GI Bill. Huge difference. Barely in the name, but in the way it works. And so I had to wait until 2009 to use it before they implemented the new program. So I said to my mom, I'm like, what am I going to do? I want to be a chiropractor, but I'm living with my cousin and I can't stay in Michigan. I have to move. And she's like, well, why don't you just go get a summer job at Cedar Point? You'll meet a hot Polish chick. And I was like, oh, that's a really good idea. I've always wanted to date a Polish chick because I'm 100% Polish by blood.
Yeah, but Polish girls work at this amusement park?
Oh, yeah.
What?
Yeah.
How?
Basically, so they have like this huge work and travel program where hundreds of college kids from all around the world come to Cedar Point to work there for the summer. It's awesome. So like every time we'd go to Cedar Point and we'd see a Polish person, we'd be like, cześć and all this stuff and like, hi, and so all of a sudden in 2008, like 9 months or so after I got out of the military, I'm a lifeguard supervisor at Cedar Point, and I meet a Polish chick, and all my Polish friends, and I had like a Polish painted Harley Davidson and all this stuff. So my Polish friends were like, Mike, you got to come to Poland and teach English. And I was like, oh, yeah, that'd be cool. Like, I can totally teach. I was teaching in the military, and I basically had to teach English to a bunch of Turkish people and Asians and all this people from all around the world who came to Cedar Point to become lifeguards. So I kind of spent the whole summer teaching people English and then teaching people to save lives. So I was like, yeah, hell yeah, let's go to Poland. And so in December of 2008, I went to Poland for 6 months. I was teaching English here, and it was a lot of fun. Then I went back to Ohio, where I kind of had this huge revelation about sustainability and farming and agriculture and stuff. That got me back out to California, because I was in Northern California during my military career, and then I was going to go to San Luis Obispo for their agriculture program with the GI Bill in 2010. Long story short, I ended up going to the entrepreneurship boot camp for veterans with disabilities at UCLA in 2011, and then that got me so fired up about having my own thing that in 2012 I moved to Poland.
Wait, how does that get you fired up about having your own thing, and then you moved to Poland? What about back to the Midwest? There's plenty of agriculture opportunities in the Midwest or in Northern California.
That's true. Well, in 2010, I started dating a girl that I had met while I was in Poland, like a year prior. And so we had started talking and getting to know each other and such. And in February of 2011, I came out here to see if it was like going to be legit. And then this entrepreneurship boot camp came in, and by then I because of an invention I was working on, that had gotten me kind of into the hemp industry, into like the adult novelty, like head shop kind of niche. And so she came out to California, and we started talking, and we realized that one of the best business universities in Poland was covered by the GI Bill. So
I would have thought that no universities outside of the United States were covered by the GI Bill.
Yeah, if you go to the GI Bill website, there's a very, very teeny tiny little search box that says "search by country," and you can barely notice it, but it's there. And so I searched Poland, and this university called Klepacz, which is like top ranked in Europe in the Financial Times, was on the list. And so I applied, and I got in. And then I spent the last 5 years going there, and the way the GI Bill works, if you're going overseas, so here's the interesting thing, if there's any veterans listening, if you're going to school overseas, you get maximum base allowance housing. So if I were to go to college in Ohio, for example, I would have gotten about $650 a month, like monthly allowance during the school year. But if you're overseas, you get maximum BAH, which was something like $1,600.
Massive difference. And it's cheaper to live.
Way cheaper to live. So because of the 40% disability, because of the maximum BAH, living over in Poland, and teaching English on the side, I was basically living like a king, and I was able to bank a bunch of money while I was in school and fund my business.
That sounds like an awesome plan. Was it ever a plan to go over there, get your degree, and come back to the United States, or it was always and then start a business in Poland?
When I first moved to Poland in 2012 for school, I assumed that I was going to be working on a business with this invention that I was working on, which was a hemp wick dispenser, and then I also thought I was going to get back into organic farming, which I tried to do while I was here, and that's a rabbit hole story about organic farming here. But
farming what crops?
Basically everything. The method of farming that I've been teaching myself and learning and hanging out with people who do it since 2009 is called permaculture. It's basically a polyculture system that uses all of basically 7 different layers, from tall trees all the way down to fungi, strategically planned in a way to where they kind of help each other through symbiosis for like pest deterrents and stuff like that. So my goal was to be able to do everything possible in this climate.
Support for this podcast and the following message comes from Click Placement, a digital agency designing Google AdWords and pay-per-click marketing strategies for startups, small businesses, and even people building a side hustle. Hit up clickplacement.com to start a conversation. If you would like to personally support the Go Hunt Life podcast, go to patreon.com/Go Hunt Life to make a donation.
So how do you get to the point of starting a hemp company, and why?
Basically, so in 2011, I started working on this patent for this hempwick dispenser that I was working on, and hempwick. I actually have some right here. Sorry, audience, for the drawer noise.
So for the audio listeners, it looks like like a little firecracker wick.
Looks like a firecracker wick, but basically, so you light this wick, and then you use it to. I mean, it's great for getting into candles that you can't reach, or lighting campfires, or people smoke herb with it or whatever. And so I was working on a different style of hempwick that went into a dispenser that actually held a lighter and the hempwick roll together in one unit. And by 2012, I got a phone call from a guy who said that I might be infringing on his patent. And it turned out that a few months before I filed my provisional patent, he filed his patent on almost the same kind of thing, only my design was better. And so I said to him, I said, look, I'm working in this industry already. You're a finance guy. Let's work together. It'll be fun. Fast forward to 2012 when I'm moving to Poland. We have everything prototyped and ready. Fast forward to 2013. He finds an investor who wants me out for a bunch of other reasons. And as far as I'm aware, the product totally tanked because they didn't listen to me. They asked too much for the product, and it didn't move. So all of a sudden, I had some machinery that I was trying to develop for this product so that we could make the refills for this dispenser automatically. I knew how to make hempwick, and I had all this machinery. So I said to my buddy, I said, hey, let's start making hempwick here. And so we came out with our own brand, and that kind of failed. It failed because there were other really big brands on the market that were just, it's like if you see a Chevrolet next to a Peugeot, which an American doesn't even know Peugeot because It's French, you're going to go with the Chevy. I'm going to go with the Chevy because I like Chevy. And that's just kind of how it was at the head shops. It's like when you go to a head shop and you see this brand that like a rolling paper brand or whatever brand, you're going to buy their brand, even if it's more expensive, like per foot. So that's when we kind of pivoted about 2 years ago, and I started making hempwick for my competition, basically.
So walk me back. I know nothing about hempwick. Like, what does a field look like? Take me down to the ground level, literally the dirt. What does it look like? What's the crop look like, and what makes it so advantageous for?
From the dirt up, we're looking at about like 6.8 to 7.2 acid. It really likes Polish soil, kind of like a sandy, clayey soil. Hemp is great because it's a really good rotation crop, and so from a historical level, hemp has been grown in Europe since, I don't know, I think like the 14th century or something like that. And out of the 50 or 60 some varieties of hemp that are legal to grow in Europe, Poland has developed 5 of those. In the northern climate, as far as Europe goes, or let's just say anything, if we were to put it into American terms, anything north of Kentucky, when you grow hemp, you get more of like it's called a dual crop hemp, where when you get the hemp, you can get some fibers for making burlap sacks.
Okay, so I lived in the Yucatan Peninsula where there is a lot of sea sal or henequen. And so I've seen how it's manufactured, and the long leaves look kind of like agave, and they bring it apart, and it's all very fibrous, and they dry it out, and they make burlap sacks and rope and twine. Is that what hemp looks like when it is harvested?
Well, so industrial hemp, let's just say like in Romania or Kentucky and South, actually can get about 15 to 20 feet tall.
Oh, then that's totally...
before it even goes to seed. And so so in the more like southern hemp plantations, you would have a single crop, and you actually harvest it like just as it starts to flower. So it grows really tall. So you plant it really close together. It grows really tall, really aggressive. It drowns out all the light below it so that weeds can't propagate beneath the weed, right? That's what we're talking about.
Does it look like bamboo?
It kind of looks like bamboo. I can send you some. I can send you some pictures of some hemp fields. But yeah, basically what you do is once it gets so tall, you cut it down and then you let it stay in the field in kind of like these teepees that just hold each other up, and then that's called dew retting. And so basically what happens is as it starts to age in these piles, fungus come in and breaks down the pectin in the fibers, and then they take it and put it through a machine that compresses the stalk, and you can release the bark from the core, and then they take that and mechanically manipulate it into long and short fibers, and then they turn it into insulation or fabric or whatever.
Do you own the land that is being farmed?
No, but it's in my game plan. Eventually I want to start farming hemp here in Poland, but the hemp that we can do here is not for my genre. So like all the dog collars and guitar straps and other stuff I need a warmer hemp. So I would have to go to Romania or something to start farming there.
So you buy at what form is the hemp when you purchase it for manufacturing?
It's totally done, totally complete. I deal with the mills.
So the mills build like you had mentioned, guitar straps, dog collars. When they come to you, they're already made.
Yeah. Well, I get the material to make my products.
So you get the material to make your products. So then your company, you have the facilities that are actually making, whether you want a dog collar that's a inch wide or inch and a half or 2 inches or whatever, you're running that part of your business.
Well, from the mills, I buy the material already made into the strap, and then we're the ones who are cutting it, adding the buckles, and doing the final assembly.
As an American in Poland, what challenges do you have in regards to starting, like in the United States, an LLC or an S Corp, like the company aspect of it? How difficult is that as an American, or do you need a Polish partner to get that done?
First of all, in America, it is so easy to start a business. I mean, and I'm sure many of your listeners know, you can literally start a business today. Here, it's not the same. Whether you're American or Polish, it's just not the same. They don't really discriminate against me for being American. My key was I got a Polish guy. So my Polish sucks. And so I said to my buddy, dude, we're going to do a business together. You're going to be the face, and we're going to start this company 100%, all the shares in your pocket, and then I'll kind of be a ghost. And then when it gets going, then we'll sell some to the American. And so that's kind of how it worked out. But for real, like, you have to go get things notarized, and you have to go to the court, and you have to have like a minimum amount of money to have in the bank account at all times in case you get sued according to Polish law. There's all this just gray area and red tape here. It's actually not easy to do business here. Polish tax law is one of the worst tax laws on the planet. That's not a joke. That's statistics.
I'm still looking for why you have a company in Poland then, in Warsaw. Why not Romania?
I'm here. That's the short answer is I'm here. And you know, if the story was changed and I met some Romanian chick and went to school in Romania, I'd be doing business in Romania. So my thing is I always want to help the local economy of wherever I am.
Tell me about the business now. You manufacture guitar straps, dog collars. What are all the products that you manufacture?
That's actually pretty much it right now. So we have the wax string, which we can sell to like churches for making traditional beeswax candles, or we can sell to the smoking industry for hemp wick. We got the guitar straps, the dog products, which includes like rope chew toys, harnesses, leashes, etc. And then I'm working on a hemp yoga mat, which I'm pretty pumped about. But the big thing about hemp is it's actually pretty expensive. So in order to do something, you have to do it at a commercially viable price. You know what I mean? It's like, I don't care how earth friendly you are, or crunchy you are, or whatever word you want to call yourself, everybody has a pocketbook limit. You know what I mean?
Breaking
And
point
so,
on it. Yep.
yeah, it's like I can't sell a yoga mat for $250.
Who are your customers now? Are you selling? You're selling into the United States. I know that. Are you only selling into the United States, or are you also selling there in Poland or other countries?
Consider Poland to be like the China of Europe. So China, Poland, they don't have the buying power to afford my products, basically. Like, for example, if I were to go to a chain store that sells pet products here, the cost that I pay just to make a dog collar with material and labor is higher than the cost that you can buy a dog collar for here at the store.
So you would be selling to retailers there in Poland. Are you also selling to retailers in the United States, or the big kahuna, Amazon?
Amazon is key. I think it's a big deal to get on Amazon. It's really easy to get on Amazon. I don't do FBA for any kind of product. I have a little side project that I'm working on right now, which I'm going to try to turn into like the Etsy, eBay, Amazon of all things hemp. You know, getting stuff on Amazon is just so easy. You know what I mean? And I don't do FBA because I have a little warehouse in Michigan.
So you ship your stuff from there and send it to your warehouse in Michigan?
Basically, yeah. And it's two different business entities.
Why would you not send it to FBA?
Because they rip me off.
Just a cost. Okay, so how
it's easier to have my own shipping facility than it is to do FBA. FBA is great for high margin, high cost products. But for stuff like dog collars and stuff like that, it's not really worth it.
Are you shipping over like a whole container?
Sometimes maybe 20-pound, 50-pound boxes, or like a half pallet or a pallet or something. It depends.
Other than Amazon, how else are you reaching customers in the United States?
Websites.
Shopify?
No. I mean, I like Shopify. The what I mentioned earlier, this pet project that I have for doing the eBay, Etsy, Amazon of all things hemp, that's going to be Shopify, because Shopify is a beautiful system. It's a great ecosystem. I don't know if you've used it, but it's a dream to work with. It's not buggy or anything. I've been using Shopify on different levels since 2011. But with our own personal websites, we just do WooCommerce through WordPress.
So. Okay.
Yeah.
I mean, my audience are people that are living in the United States. They're 10, 20, 30 years into their career, and they're thinking, man, I kind of want to move to Warsaw, or I want to move to Chiang Mai, or I want to do something completely and totally different. I want to follow a passion versus be an accountant or an attorney or whatever it is. I want to be an urban farmer, or I want to be something completely and totally different. Talk to me now about Poland. You're Polish, so you chose it. Talk about Warsaw and maybe the people that are there that don't have a Polish background. They're from Canada or the United States. Why do those people live there? Why is Warsaw an appealing place to move for expats?
I actually know a lot of people from Canada that are here. So the expat community is pretty small generally. I mean, we have a couple of little private secret Facebook groups and stuff where it's invite only. But a lot of them come here because, so I mentioned earlier that Poland's kind of the China of Europe, right? So a lot of, especially after the Euro Cup in 2012, a lot of big corporations are realizing that Poland's kind of in the heart of it all, it's the gateway between Eastern Europe and Western Europe. It's not so far from Africa even, and it's just kind of in the middle of it all, and it's cheap. So they can hire people to come here, even in some cases pay for their places to live and give them a smaller wage, and people are willing to do it. So because the quality of living here is so high, the cost of living is so low, rent is so low, food is so low, people are willing to just come here and work. I mean, the weather here is literally like where we come from.
In central Illinois, or in central U.S., Midwest.
It's the same.
What about rent? What about healthcare? What about some of the other normal things that expenses that people are going to want to know before getting on a plane? Like how much would a 2-bedroom apartment in the heart of Warsaw run? And what about healthcare?
Like a super nice, like 2-bedroom, probably $800.
Oh, man. Okay. And then what's the healthcare system?
Okay, so the other day I went to get vaccines, and I had to get two. I had to get like so I'm going to Asia in a couple of weeks. I'm actually going to Chiang Mai in a couple of weeks to go kick it. I needed to get out of the winter weather, you know. So I had to go and get like typhoid and some other shots. So I think for a whopping $110, I got seen by a doctor, diagnosed for my shots with finger quotes, and 2 shots. And then for another another $40, I got malaria pills just in case.
What about visas? How do you have to leave the country after a certain period of time? What kind of a visa are you on?
As an American citizen, you're allowed to be here for 3 months at a time.
That's short.
Yeah.
Do you have any sort of a resident visa, or are you on a tourist? Are you on a company, or are you on an entrepreneur visa? Do they have that?
The thing that I have is called a Carta Pobytu. It's basically like a green card. And so when I first came here, I came here on student Carta Pobytu, right? And so now that my student Carta Pobytu and I'm no longer in school has expired, I'm doing this Carta Pobytu as a business owner. So as the business, so like if somebody wanted to come here, start a business, and have that solely be their income, like as you're applying for your green card, you have to, first of all, like you have to show where your money's coming from. If you have seed money, you have to give them a business plan in Polish, and like all this, you have to show like a rental agreement for your office, all this like official stuff. Like, I mean, unlike America, Poland is very picky about who they let stay.
Sounds like it. It sounds difficult to get in, difficult to stay, but not impossible. All right. So if you were to start could a Canadian come in and open a restaurant as an example? Can you just come in and open a restaurant?
Yes.
How long would it take someone to work through the red tape to come in there and find a space, a retail space, and go through, let's say they already have a business plan? Are we talking like within 2 months, or is it a year?
Oh, it's definitely not a year. I know a couple of New Yorkers who came in. The biggest, for a restaurant, the biggest thing is like, you know, finding a space, making sure it's up to, because I mean, they also have like food codes and stuff. So you have to make sure that the kitchen's up to code. And the biggest thing is construction, like making sure the restaurant looks good, making sure the kitchen's cool, hiring the people and stuff. But as far as like, and it's also like a step-by-step process, you know, so like you can't get your liquor license until your kitchen's approved, and like all this one can't happen before another kind of thing, like very timeline.
That sounds
basically.
Like America. Yeah. Okay. All right. So it's not, there aren't any major restrictions that would prohibit somebody from coming in. You got the money, you've got the game plan, the vision, the passion, all that. It can happen. What about the startup scene? I mean, you started something from completely scratch. What's the startup scene in Warsaw? Is there venture capital? Are there meetup groups where you can work with other people? Like, what's that scene like?
There are a ton of VCs here, venture capitalists. Like I said earlier, because, well, actually I didn't say earlier, but this whole back to Poland being China thing, Poland is the poorest, quote unquote, country in Europe, right? And because of European Union law, most of the money that gets funneled through the European Union goes towards the bottom countries. And so since Poland's on the bottom, like France is on the top, Germany's on the top, since Poland's quote unquote on the bottom, they're getting a lot of the investment money. So like the infrastructure here is booming, businesses are booming. Like everybody, like if you go to a startup thing, like half of the pitches you hear is, and we've applied for European Union grant for such and such. You know, and so as far as like meetups and stuff, there's NextVav, and there's Warsaw Reactor, and there's all this stuff where you can go and hear pitches and give people feedback, because your mom's not going to tell you your idea is stupid. You gotta go to a bunch of like, you know, and we're all people who have the money to put up. Like, hey, you know, if we like the pitch, we'll Shark Tank them.
So was your business funded by a grant or were you just self-funded?
It was me and another private person, and we put up $10,000.
Is there a Kickstarter? Would that be an option for you?
We could have done a Kickstarter, but the big thing for us with our particular thing was the research and development for the machinery. So the machinery that we had to create for our hemp wick, which is like something to melt the beeswax and stuff to make the rolls and all that stuff. If we would have gone to a private company that builds machines and designs machines, it would have cost us about $250,000. But because of, I know people who design robots, and I was an aircraft mechanic, so, I know how to fix stuff and build stuff and weld and do minor stuff, really. I'm no wizard when it comes to metalworking, but I helped, and we basically did this thing with like duct tape and bubble gum, shoestring budget.
I mean, $10,000, it sounds like that's not a lot of money to do what you're doing. Like, you're manufacturing a product. That's different than providing a service or devopping an app. That's a much bigger deal.
Yeah.
Jumping over to social media, so you sell through Amazon. You personally have a relatively low-key social media presence. Is that just your personality, or is there another strategy behind that? Or is it even really important to your business to have, 25,000 followers on Facebook?
I guess I kind of got a little bit scared with the hempwick thing. So with the hempwick thing, I mean, everything was on a shoestring budget, I was surviving off of my $600 a month for disability, and we were just trying to scale responsibly and things like that. And so I had never been one to throw a lot of money to like Facebook ads or Google AdSense or AdWords or even Amazon ads or anything like that. I was just trying to grow things organically, I mean, when I first started in 2011, I thought things mattered, like stroking my ego. Like I was like, buying Instagram followers and buying Facebook likes and all this stuff like back in the day, and all this black hat stuff that doesn't even work anymore, But because of the whole hempwick thing, I thought to myself, isn't it much cool? So now I'm manufacturing for huge brands, right? I don't have to do anything. Essentially.
So you're like, who would be your biggest? Okay, so you're selling to manufacturers in the United States? No, you're selling to the end users. Who are your customers on the commercial side?
I mean, with the hempwick thing, our big customers are rolling paper company, and so we make the product, we put their name on it, and we send it to their warehouse. That's it. So we're basically private labeling for brands.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yep.
And so like we had the guitar stuff and the dog collars years ago, and we just now kind of got kicked in the ass a little bit by Johnny FD.
Really?
Dude,
another guest on the show, and how you and I have been introduced. What happened to Johnny FD? What'd he do?
He's just like, dude, you have a factory. Why don't you just do your own brand and stuff? And it's just, for me, it's just, I don't want people who want to start something, I don't want people to think that just because they hang out on Facebook all day that it's easy. You know what I mean? Like doing social media and like monitoring social media and doing all the analytics for it and Instagram and all this other stuff. It's exhausting, and you kind of get lost in it, and all of a sudden you realize you spent all day on Instagram just making comments and liking people and trying to get more followers, doing it white hat style, and so I just got exhausted, and I thought to myself, like, hey, let's just hold off with the dog collars and guitar straps. Like, wouldn't it be cool if we could private label for Gibson or Fender? Wouldn't it be cool if we could private label for PetSmart? Like, why do our own brands? We could just private label for a big box,
Yeah.
So it's like, would I rather like make 1,000 guitar straps, send it to my warehouse, and sell it to 1,000 people?
No.
And sure, I can make $15 or $20 per guitar strap, or I can make $3 or $4 per guitar strap and sell 10,000 to Gibson.
Of course.
And when it comes to manufacturing, I'm just putting my signature on a piece of paper. But when it comes to order fulfilling 10,000 units, making 10,000 units, customer service 10,000 units, it's just, I got a little lazy.
So the current business now, like if you were to snap, you've transitioned from selling, you still do it direct to consumer, but also you're the private label side up to a bigger entity. What do the next 6 months look like, and what do you foresee? What do you want to accomplish? Like, what's the biggest thing that you want to knock off your list in the next 6 months?
The biggest thing for the next 6 months is to kind of build the brands for the guitar straps and the dog collars so that we can private label for somebody in the future, because it's basically proof of concept, right?
Okay.
The other big thing that I want to do is probably in 2018, I'll probably do between 10 and 100. I know that sounds like a big gap. Beehives.
What's a beehive? What do you mean? An actual beehive?
Literally, actually beehives. I need a lot of beeswax. So for the waxed string, I literally need tons and tons and tons and tons and tons of beeswax. And so I want to be able to control it. And if I'm producing my own honey, I'm producing my own beeswax. And so I just want to be able to eventually buy up my supply chain, right?
Yeah.
So I want to start with beeswax. And so next year we'll do a little bit of a pilot program. If that seems to be working out, which I don't see how it couldn't, then we'll probably go in 2019 to 3,000 beehives.
Last question. I mean, if you were to go back in time and like your first entry into Warsaw, you land, you're not really sure what you're going to do. Like, what piece of advice would you give yourself, and certainly a piece of advice that you would give that person that's driving right now in Toledo, Cleveland, Springfield, Illinois, Dallas, Texas? Like, man, I just want to do something different. I'm 15 years into my accounting career, and I want to be an urban farmer in some far off land. What would be your advice to them?
I've been thinking about this question all day.
You went to school.
I did. You know what's really funny though? I didn't learn anything there. The boot camp that I went to was so like pinpointed and hardcore that everything I learned about management and leadership I learned in the military, even if I didn't know it. And everything that I learned about running a business, I learned through being a lifeguard supervisor, shoveling popcorn as a kid, being a caterer, or changing oil at Valvoline, or whatever. I learned about, I wore a lot of hats throughout my whole life. I mean, I'm 32. Like, I've been shoveling snow and mowing lawns since I was 5. So my big thing is just do it and read a lot. Because I've read a lot and because I've done a lot, I mean, university it's really for teenagers and early 20s people who don't know anything. To be blunt, it's for people who don't know anything. It's for people who just got out of science class in high school. They don't know what they want to do with the rest of their life. I mean, I'm 32. I don't know what I want to do with the rest of my life. My dad's in his 60s. He doesn't know what he wants to do with the rest of his life. None of us know. We're all improvising, Every single one of us are improvising. But the reality is the thing that sets like the billionaires apart from like the upper middle class or the middle class is how much they know, how much they read, I mean, sure, your network is important and stuff like that, but like what is in between your eyeballs or your ears or whatever, that's up to you. And so it's like, if you haven't read 4 Hour Work Week my classics are like anything by John Maxwell, 4 Hour Work Week. There's a good book called like the new business road test or something like that. Any like college textbooks about entrepreneurial small business, like a lynda.com subscription or something like that, like all that stuff to just hyperdrive your brain into success mode and to do mode. Like that's what I wish I would have had in 2007 when I got out of the military.
That is a great quote. All right. You can find Michael at naturalmaterials.pl, also on LinkedIn at Mike, Klepacz. Where else can they find you?
You can find me on Facebook. It's all probably facebook.com/Mike Klepacz. I'd be happy. People can even email me. My personal email is mikeklepacz@gmail.com. I got a bunch of other business emails, but if you email me there, I will definitely get it.
I will put that in the show notes as well. Mike, I appreciate your time. Thank you very much for jumping on the show.
Yeah, it was great to be here, and it was nice talking to you.
Don't forget to hit up the rock stars at printdirtcheap.com. Use promo code GoHuntLife for $10 off of your next print job. For fast, cheap, and high-quality online printing, it's printdirtcheap.com. Hey, Life Hunters. Thank you for listening to this episode of Go Hunt Life. If you like the show and would like to support it, go to iTunes and do this. Subscribe to the show, leave a rating, and review it. It helps. And thank you. If you or someone that you know has quit their normal life to follow their dreams, I would love an introduction and maybe interview them on the show. You can find me at GoHuntLife.com and also on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and Pinterest at Go Hunt Life. Until next time, stay weird, dare greatly, and ripcord out.